I just wanted to make like a little introduction to this devlog because it's going to be covering like a lot of different things. The first part of it is going to be covering, I think it's like some map cleanup. The other portion of the video, it covers some like character rigging stuff. I think I worked on a little bit of it for Madam Frenzy, and then it also showed some other stuff involving, I think I had named it Simple Roguelike in the video, but I came to the conclusion that I'm just going to have that as like a little opening sequence for Angelica, as like a little dream piece, and then it transitions into the main portion of the game. I didn't have it like that at the time of the video, I think, but I've kind of come to that conclusion anyways. But now, you know, it's always fun when you realize that you're muted. I've been doing some cleanup on like these little corners because they go a little bit too far. And not that it's the biggest of ordeals. I could still texture it and it would look fine, I think. Probably not, but like I just don't want it to be like messed up, so I'm gonna just like reshape it. Once I'm done cleaning up all that, I'll go through and make the doors for the individual rooms and stuff like that. Basically just preparing them for like when I do like the room designs. As you can tell, there's a lot of rooms. There's about like 60 between the two floors on this side, and then there's like another 60 on this side, so it's about like 120 there. And then this is like a lot of fucking rooms, and then you got like these guys in the front here. So yeah, gonna try and do all that today.
Several days later.
To explain, it's been a couple days since that little jump cut. Basically, before they were flat, so like they weren't connected to like the second floor and shit. And then I also started working on like the interior proportions for like the door and like the rooms and shit like that. I don't have everything figured out, but I've got most of it. Anyways, I'm gonna play some music and go about making all the rest of the doors connected and shit like that, so yeah. So I finished all the rooms. This is how it looks. And so this is pretty much consistent with all of the rooms for now. They have them where just a door in the center for the most part. If I need to change anything major about it, I can just do like oop, and then I can just like, you know, change it along this line if I need to. Like if I really want that to be like, you know, offset or whatever, I can do that. But now I have it where I can have the hallway texture and then the interior. I am back. after like some time. So in the last like little clip or snippet, I kind of teased like this little character model. I literally went into Krita and just like built this little character texture atlas. Same with like the ground too. Which kind of looks like shit, to be honest. I haven't made a skybox yet, but incremental update part, whatever the fuck this is. I got it working. It took me some time. I'll also post a link to the tutorial video that I followed. But yeah, and I also learned a lot more about just like using like the animation for the character rig in here. So this is for that's for when you turn left. Okay, I've got like different animations here for like idle, right running, like to the right, and then you've got like a basic running thing. Well, the other ones just have it where they just turn most of the stuff. It mostly just like rotates like here and then here and then here, just to keep it like in a different thing, so it looks different when it's like this in the camera mode. This is what it looks like when it plays. It's got a little basic animation like that, and then like a little thing like that. It's not perfect. I gotta fix the speed on that shit. I don't know why the speed is like so like fast with that thing. I need to do a little jumping animation for it. As you can see, there's a little idle animation there. It looks like his shoulders are like kind of going up and breathing kind of, which is really nice. I just gotta like make some enemy types, transfer the character rig, not this character rig, but like make like little character rigs for those guys, as well as like some little animations. I gotta also make like a little attack animation for this shit too. I might just like switch a lot of the Angelica stuff to this, or maybe use this as like a little precursor demo to it or some shit. Also, a little ground here I might make a little bit larger, and then just like add in a bunch of like trees and other assets and stuff. There's a ton of stuff in like this little field that so like as you can see, there's a lot of different things on here. Like I've got like wood textures for like the tree. I've got this like distorted version, I think, of like the same wood texture there. This looks like some sort of knitting. I think I'm gonna use like these two for like the little goblin tents. This for like maybe any water that I might have, rocks, trees, some of the gravel, or like even like for some like the mountainside stuff. Maybe even like a little cabin building or something. And then you got some like little blood spurts there and shit like that. This I just thought was a cool texture. And then I've got like little like transparent like images of like these little grass textures and shit like that. So yeah, and then obviously this thing here. It looks so ridiculous and it's so janky, just because of how simple it is. But you know what, it works. And I think it's great. Okay, I think I've come to the conclusion that this character model sucks and I can't make it work. So I'm going to just straight up get rid of it, to be honest, because like I've tried everything I can. Well, not everything, but like I've tried a lot to like prevent distortions. Yeah, I've done decent enough weight painting, but it's not enough. Oh my god, I did not even see that. Wow. Yeah, this is all just gonna go in the fucking trash. Boom. There. Alright, and I'll just restart, honestly. Now, I'm gonna get into this part. So this is the third part of the video. This is talking about menuUIs and some of the logic editor stuff that I have here. Because look at this. Oh, hold on. Look at this. Ah, look at that. It's a menu, and I can turn settings like this, which is cool as fuck. I don't have anything for the volume though, but I'll get there. I will. I'll figure that out eventually. But I also have it here where I added a debug testing button, and it goes into a little boxed room, and I can also pause it. However, I need to fix this pause menu. Okay, yeah, there are some issues with that, but let me show you some of the logic that I have for it. So the cool thing is that there's a hover button for the mouse, so I have to use mouse over and the left button, and then it'll set the scene for the start button. I don't have level 1 finished yet, and I don't even have like the characters in there yet, so that's sort of why I haven't done that yet. So the best frame of reference that I have for this is probably going to be the debug testing, which essentially does the same thing, except it sends you to the gameplay testing. And this is where it sends me. Let me add just like a simple like lamp or sun or some shit. Yeah, here we go. Okay, so that leads to debug testing. Now for this button here for settings, this has it where it's the same thing except that this is sending messages. It's setting just the word settings to each of these blocks here for the different buttons. And essentially what happens is that each and every one of these have it where they're always not visible, which is why when you go to play it, they're like this, and then when you hit this, it gets sent a message. It then switches to the second state where it's then visible always. And then depending on whatever the object or item is or something like that, like for full screen, I have an extra thing here where if you do mouse over, left button, it'll also send a message, a check message to full screen bull and menu camera. So this is the weird part that I somewhat can't really test right now, unless I were to export the game, or like have it be something else. I don't know. I have to like figure out how to like to test like full screen capabilities, because so far like there is a setting in here for full screen. Okay, and the cool thing is that I'm able to copy the data path for it, which is cool. That's cool, because even when you hit full screen on this, okay, it's like not actually full screen. It just kind of determines whether or not it's going to be in a window or full screen, which is only possible when you're playing it in like an actual like boxed window. I'm gonna have the capture actually do the desktop so that you can, or just like my screen, just so that you can see it. So it opens the window like this, and then that's essentially how that looks. But you can essentially make this somewhat full screen, but it's not like actually full screen in that sense. Back to this similar concept, but I don't have it where like it'll pop up in a window, and then I guess with that you can change the setting. Anyways, I have it where it sends it to that message to the camera, and when the camera receives check, it'll then change this full screen property thing. I probably shouldn't even play that much around with the settings to begin with, but at least not this early, but I just wanted to get something there. I haven't even touched like volume settings because there's like no sound in it regardless, but that's just forward thinking, moving down the line or whatever. This has it where if you check this, it'll go to the full screen bull. Full screen bull does not work the same way that everything else works in this, because these are all flat like textures on like objects and shit like that. And this square back here too, this is gonna be like a background for it, but I just haven't gotten to that yet. But essentially full screen bull is just like Blender's like little text thing, and I have it where it's set to like a Boolean value, and when it receives the settings menu, it changes itself to state 2, and state 2, well, this is when it gets actually visible. But when it receives the check message right here, it'll go through and it will toggle FPS check, which is right here. And I have here property equal values, where if it's equal to false, it will show nothing, and if it's equal to true, it will just show an X. I had to put in quotes the actual like value for the string though, because otherwise it won't actually register the value properly, especially if it's like a string. It won't like properly get it. And then obviously it'll set this thing to invisible once it gets the message again. But I'm pretty sure that like also stays too, like when you hit the setting for that. Yeah, which is pretty cool. Anyways, let me move on to the debug testing, because the pause menu thing, I'm not gonna fix it this video. Right now I have it where the character has it, where it's registered with the pause button as well as this thing, which is pretty similar, to be honest, to what I had for the full screen thing, because it has like a pause boolean value, which essentially, like when you do this, it'll send a message, or it'll toggle, it won't even send a message, it'll just toggle the pause, which is here. If this is false, it actually doesn't do anything. It just means, well, it means that the mouse is invisible, first of all. So, which is pretty cool. I probably should have it where it sends a message, though, because there is a slight issue that I have with this. The issue that I have is that I was looking at some of the Blender reference manual. I was looking at that a little bit, and I saw, I think it was part of like setting the scene, because I have it in here where if it is set to true, it will make the mouse visible. It'll suspend this scene, so like pausing it or freezing it or whatever. You know, like, see, that pauses it. Then you have the resume right there. That's interesting. It basically just has it where this suspends the scene and adds the overlay scene, which is why it does this. And then when I go to resume, it will then resume the scene. But then I can't, like, I gotta figure this out, because it's just doing that. Like, it doesn't pause it again. I don't know why. The resume button, what does it do? Yeah, here it goes. It just resumes the scene and then sets the scene. I had to have it where it sets the scene back to that. Well, let me see what happens if I get rid of that. Let me see. Boop. Got the settings, full screen. Works. Not really. See, now we got it. That's cool. And then quit to. That's cool. That's cool. Oh my god. Okay, so we got ourselves a menu working pretty much fully there. That's fucking cool. I'm excited. I just have to like work on like a lot of the other character rig stuff. There is a way to save the game and create file systems. What I'm gonna try and do is maybe limit the filing, like the file save systems to like, I think for the demo, I was thinking of just having it be like, only allowing one save, just because of how short it was gonna be. I might have it where you can create like maybe 3 saves max. The way I would probably set that up is probably like having like where it's visible over here, having an image of like the save, maybe like the name of whatever the save was, and then also like a check mark and then a X mark to like load it or delete it, in that sense is what I was thinking. As far as the name, I might have it where it will default to the date and time it was saved, and then have it where the player can then edit it to be like a custom name if they wanted to. Anyways, moving forwards, I'm going to be probably doing more streaming videos instead of like fully edited ones, because this is a pretty long one. Maybe like a showcase video here or there. Probably going to stream the next devlog. Bye!